Hello, everyone. Thank
Hi,
you.
everyone.
Thanks for those who have already signed in. I think we'll wait about one more minute to let some more people log in. If you can hear my voice, can you please go to the Q&A section and click yes? That would be very helpful.
Type yes, rather.
Yeah, type yes.
Thank you, guys and gals. Welcome to our webinar.
Awesome. This is looking good. Okay. Looks like everyone's in.
Great.
All right, so thank you guys again for coming to our webinar today. My name is Hillary and I'm one of the senior coordinators for the Teach in Spain program. And here right next to me is Miranda Rodway. She's our other senior coordinator for Teach in Spain. And you will be working with both of us if you choose to do this program all throughout the pre-departure time. So we are just going to go over a number of basic information today outlining our academic year programs with Spain. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the question and answer box throughout the presentation, and then we'll answer all of them at the end. All right, so again, my name is Hillary and Miranda is with me. We have both spent time in Spain living and studying and teaching. So I'll turn it over to Miranda and she can share a little bit about her experience and then I'll share mine.
Hi, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well today. Thank you for joining us. So I lived, studied, and taught in Zaragoza, or if you want to pronounce it the Spanish way, Zaragoza and Salamanca, each for one semester. And I've been fortunate enough to get to return there for work with CIEE for the past 3 and change years. I had an amazing time in Zaragoza. I taught in a private language instruction academy, so it was age 3 to adults. I had a great experience there. I was not on a program like CIEE. I kind of made it up as I go. So you have that perspective from me doing it all DIY. But I'm happy to be here, and I love what I do here at CIEE.
Great, and I actually started out as a participant with CIEE when I studied abroad for my senior year of college in Sevilla, and I loved it there, fell in love with Spain, as we see in our applications a lot. We hear from you guys. And yeah, I had a great time. I lived with a host family, took a whole bunch of Spanish classes, and my language skills really got better. And then after graduating, I spent 8 months saving up money, and then I taught abroad with CIEE with this particular program for 2 years in Madrid. And I initially wanted to go back to Andalusia and be in Sevilla, but I really ended up loving Madrid and all the opportunities that were there, and being in the center of the country was very convenient for traveling. And yeah, so my favorite city will always be Sevilla, but Madrid is pretty special as well, and that's where our programs are based. All right, so here is a general overview of all the academic year programs that we offer in Spain. So they're called Teach in Spain Immersion with 4 weeks of Spanish, Teach in Spain Immersion with 2 weeks of Spanish, Teach in Spain, and Teach in Spain Basics. So with all of these programs, you're going to have a different orientation date, but you will everyone in these programs are all language and culture assistants in Madrid, and you will earn a stipend of 1,000 euros a month. You will be teaching in early October until the end of June, the full school year. But again, your orientations will vary. For the immersion programs, it'll be in mid-August. For Teach in Spain, it'll be in early and mid-September. And for Teach in Spain Basics, it'll be the end of September. So what's included? Your program cost includes a number of things, but basically for all the programs across the board, it includes a placement as a language and culture assistant within the region of Madrid, pre-departure assistance from us, Miranda and I here in the Portland main office. We're also going to be helping with visa guidance, which is a big part of the pre-departure process. We will enroll you in iNext International Insurance, which has 24-hour emergency service. Ongoing support from our CIEE staff in Madrid. They're also going to be picking you up from the airport, taking you to the orientation hotel on arrival day, and they will be leading orientation. The orientation days vary, but for Teach in Spain, it's 4 days, as well as Immersion. Immersion, you'll go to your host families, which we'll get to in a minute, but Teach in Spain, you'll have 3 additional nights in the hotel, and for basics, it's just a 2-day orientation with no additional nights. And then during orientation, you'll also have some cultural activities, including a flamenco show, sampling different tapas and cuisine from different regions of Spain, and it's a great way to meet the other participants in the program as well in person, so it's really fun. All right, Teach in Spain Immersion. Again, there's 2 options. There's a 4-week option or a 2-week option. This does not mean you're only going to be in Spain for 4 weeks or 2 weeks. This is just an add-on to the language and culture assistant position. So it's an opportunity to dive into the language and culture of Spain before living on your own and teaching as an assistant. So again, you will arrive in Spain in mid-August for a 4-day orientation with CIEE, and then your host family will pick you up at orientation. Within the host families, you will be living with 1 other CIEE participant. So if you're planning on doing this program with a friend, be sure to let us know and we'll try to get you into the same family. And in addition to living with a family, you will take 3 hours of conversational Spanish classes a day in one of the local language academies, which is near the Prado Museum in the Atocha area of Madrid, and it's really beautiful over there. And your host family will also be local, so you will be based in the capital for this portion of the journey. Your placement is determined by a test that you'll take when you get there, just so that they can make sure you're at the proper level so that you can really thrive. So after the 4 weeks or 2 weeks of living with your family and taking the Spanish courses, the time is yours. So again, this will start in mid-August and it'll go for 4 weeks or 2 weeks. And then afterwards, you basically have the whole month of September to do what you'd like. Some people travel, some people start on the housing process and look for an apartment. It's really up to you. We've even had participants go home in between, but you will be on your own until you start teaching in early October at your placement school. All right, Teach in Spain is our biggest and most popular program. This is the program that I did. You will arrive in Spain in early or mid-September. We have multiple orientation start dates for this program because it is so large. After 4 days of orientation, you'll have 3 additional nights in the hotel. So this is a great little window of time to start the housing search. And again, some people go on a mini trip between orientation and starting teaching. Some people just explore the city. It's really up to you. But there's no homestay in this, this program. Teach in Spain Basics is geared towards participants who have lived in a Spanish-speaking country before. They have teaching experience and strong Spanish skills. So what do those mean? For living in a Spanish-speaking country, we do look for participants who've had at least 5 months in another country or a semester. So a lot of our basics participants have done a study abroad program before. They may have family that they've lived with. You know, every experience is slightly different, and you can always reach out to us if you have questions about this. Teaching experience does not have to be classic classroom experience. You can tell us about your tutoring experience, volunteering, working as a teaching assistant, camp counselor, if you have a TEFL certification, sports coach, things like that. As long as you've had some experience with students, that's fantastic. And then strong Spanish skills, we do ask for upper intermediate Spanish. A lot of participants have had a Spanish minor. They may have grown up bilingual. Again, you can always reach out to us if you have questions about your eligibility. We'll be happy to talk to you. And again, this program will start in late September, so there is a smaller window of time between orientation and when you start teaching at your school. So that means less time to find housing. But again, it is geared towards participants who've lived abroad before and may not need as much help and assistance once they arrive in country. So every participant in the 4 programs, sorry, you will be working as a language and culture assistant in Spain. They're also known as auxiliares de conversación. So you will hear those 2 terms a lot. So you're going to be helping one or more of the lead English teachers in your placement school in multiple subject areas. You will not be responsible for lesson planning or grading any student work. You are there simply to inspire the students to speak in English at all times. You're there to support the teacher with any lessons that they've already planned. The duties do vary from school to school and from teacher to teacher. All of the schools are bilingual primary or secondary schools, so this is something you can write in your application, which one you prefer, and we do our best to place you with the age group that you'd like to work with. The workload is a part-time position, so you'll be working 16 hours a week, either Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday, and your placement school will be telling you which days you have off. So you do have 3-day weekends all the time, which is very easy to get used to. It gives you a lot of opportunities to do private tutoring on the side, do some traveling. It's up to you. And duties, again, depend on the teachers and the school. When I did this program, I did a lot of small group work, conversation practice, one-on-one with all the kids, cultural exchange activities. You will be most likely in a school with other language assistants, but not necessarily from the CIEE program. So in my school, there were 3 other assistants and myself, and we all planned the cultural activities for different holidays such as Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and things that aren't necessarily celebrated in Spain, and that was really fun. So you're there, to share pictures and stories from back home and, just expose the students to a different way of life and, again, speaking in English all the time. If you do know Spanish, this isn't a place to go practice your Spanish in the classroom, but you can certainly practice with some of the teachers in your school during breaks and things like that.
One thing I wanted to add was that we do work with some schools. They're not bilingual schools, and they're a little bit different depending on whether they are bilingual or non-bilingual school. In bilingual schools, you could be assisting with any class, any coursework that's, science, history, physical education, anything like that, because the instruction is in English and Spanish. And at a non-bilingual school, primarily you would be assisting with the English classes.
And we have had a couple placements in the past that were in tech schools. So, this is something else that may come up this year. All the placements vary slightly year to year, depending on what the regional government gives us. So again, the placements may vary, but the vast majority of placements are in bilingual primary and secondary schools. All right, placements. A lot of people ask where they will be placed. A lot of people think of Madrid as, the capital city, but it's actually the region as well, so it can get confusing. So you can see on this map, the whole region is outlined. This is the whole region of Madrid, or the Comunidad de Madrid, and then in the center is the capital. Most placements are outside the capital, but all of the schools are accessible via public transportation. That includes the metro, bus, and commuter train. You can get an Abono transportation card that can be used for all of these modes of transportation, which makes it super easy to get around. And we do our best to place you where you'd like to be, but placements are given out in the order of commitment deposits received, and of course what's available with what the regional government gives us for that year. And if you look at the map, you might see a town called Collado Villalba, which is to the northwest. This is the town that I was placed in when I did this program. And I chose to live in the capital, which is what most of our participants do. Again, it's up to you where you'd like to live. So my commute was one metro stop to the bus station, and then I took the bus to Collado Villalba which was about 20 minutes, and then another 10-minute walk. So my whole commute was about 45 minutes, which is a very average commute with our participants, again, because most people do decide to live in the capital and then commute to their schools. About 2/3 of the placements are outside the capital. We do have a handful in the capital each year, but it does vary, and we just want to make that perfectly clear, because a lot of people think just the capital when they think of Madrid, but it is the whole region for where we get our placements.
So everybody's favorite topic, housing in Madrid or Comunidad de Madrid. So after orientation, this is a very common question we have. Everyone is responsible for finding their own apartment to live for the rest of the year, or host family, or whatever you'd like to do. Some people do go with that option. It's not as common. Most participants decide to live in shared housing with other CIEE auxiliares or students, or maybe they seek out Spanish people so they can be immersed all the time. It's totally up to you, your choice. Most do live in the city, even if they have a more suburban or smaller town placement. You want to strategically position yourself on the good public transportation line. As Hillary said, they are all accessible by public transportation, whether that be the bus or the commuter train or the metro. And we've compiled a pretty good list of resources at by this point. So we have websites. We've found people have been having luck with Facebook groups and Marketplace lately. Networking with your fellow participants and other auxiliares in the area via social media is a good way to sometimes find open rooms. There's also the old-fashioned way of going to the area where you would like to potentially live and looking for signs en alquiler, so to rent. And it depends on the neighborhood you want to live in. We see that people are paying anywhere from like 250 to 500 euros a month, give or take, and also depending on gastos, so your bills that you have to pay, utilities, electric, heat, Wi-Fi, whatever is or is not included in your rent. But some people do decide to live closer to school in a suburb or on one of the outer districts of Madrid. It's made out of 21 districts. Living on the outside, if you have a more suburban placement, might make it easier. You can pop right into the city whenever you want, but also cut down the commute and perhaps your cost of rent. And we have a housing workshop during orientation. People usually start looking and researching before they arrive, when they get their placement in the spring, so late May, early June. But we don't recommend committing to anything until you actually arrive and you can see it and visit with the landlord or whoever is showing the apartment. Some people do decide to go with a real estate agency. There's usually a fee associated with that, so just beware. There's many ways to find housing and you're all in the same boat. So teaming up to go looking is what I see people do most often. This fall when I was at orientation, I sat with a big group of people and helped them draft emails and send text messages and make calls. So any of us that are at orientation, the staff in Madrid are happy to help with that and reading contracts if you have questions about that. But yeah, I see we have a question about placements and living. Just as a reminder to everyone, we'll save all the questions until the end, so keep them coming in the question and answer section, and when we're finished with the PowerPoint, we will answer your questions live.
And just to add to that,
this is Hillary's apartment, right?
Yeah. So my first year in Madrid, these are some snapshots. It was a very simple apartment. It was in the neighborhood of Argüelles, which is right next to Moncloa. There was a university in that area, so the rent was a bit cheaper, and it was actually silent at night, which surprised me a lot. But this is a 2-bedroom apartment. The lower bottom picture is a picture of my bedroom, and Another thing is that most apartments in Madrid come furnished. So it's very, very handy to, do the apartment search and filter by furnished apartments, and then be ready to move in once you've made an agreement with your landlord. So this apartment in particular, we were really lucky. It had a lot of natural light. So I had a window in my room. It came with a bed, little side table, wardrobe, desk. And then in the living room, which is the top photo, it has the couch and a table, and the TV was set up. It had cable and the internet was already in place. So it was super handy to just move into this apartment. And then the white door in the top photo was the door to my roommate's room. And then we had a little kitchen off to the side as well. So it was very humble, but it was really cute. And I loved my apartment and living there. We paid $375 each a month, with €375. And utilities were about 30 total. So we each paid €15 a month for water, electricity, things like that. So it was very doable. And another conversation you'll eventually have with your landlord is how they want you to pay them. Our particular landlady wanted us to pay in cash. So once we set up a bank account after orientation and things like that and got paid by the school, we just went to the ATM associated with our Spanish bank and paid her once a month when she came and visited us.
All right, so moving on to visa applications, visa appointments, what type of visa, etc. So everyone will be obtaining a student visa to work in Spain as a language and culture assistant. This is because the government of Comunidad de Madrid, they look at this program as kind of a paid internship program. You're being paid a stipend. So how it works is a student visa has different names, which is frustrating depending on the consulate, but we know all about that and we'll guide you through what it's called, what to apply for, what you need. So we'll send you an extensive visa appointment guide and a application guide. So those are two separate things, and a timeline for when everything needs to be happening as far as getting certain documentation, making the actual appointment, and obviously with orientation dates in mind. You're financially responsible, so the participant is financially responsible for visa costs and potential travel to the consulate. It depends on the state you're a resident of and whatever country you live in. But pre-departure assistance and visa guidance and support in Madrid are included in your program fee. So the visa application itself, I believe, is $160, right, Hillary?
Mm-hmm. And
yes.
We have a slide too at the end, and we'll go into detail.
We have a nice little finances slide about how much you should anticipate to put into that endeavor. But that itself is it's the fee that all the consulates charge. So that's nothing to do with CIEE. It's totally separate. And then, of course, if you need to fly to get to your consulate or take any type of transportation, that would be up to you. And there will be an FBI background check that everybody obtains, which has a fee associated, and I believe we have that on the slide as well, and a doctor's appointment medical certificate. And depending on the consulate, you'll need some documents translated, so that's something else to keep in mind. But generally, we are always here. We want to know if you're having issues, tell us. We're here to be your experts about each consulate. We've done lots of research between each other, and we have experience. So we're here to guide you through that. And the visa itself is actually a 90-day visa. And what happens when you arrive to Spain is that CIEE will have set up an appointment for you to get your foreign identity card that will make you legally able to reside and work in Spain as a language and culture assistant for the year.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to add too that, as you can see maybe in this photo, the visa itself is kind of like a sticker, and it has your picture on it, and it will be placed inside your passport. So, we'll get into these details much later with all our confirmed participants, but you cannot travel without your passport internationally. So while the consulate is
unless you're in New York.
Yeah, unless you're in New York. But when they're processing the visa, it can take between 2 and 5 weeks depending on the consulate, and they will take your passport and all your documentation so that they put the visa inside it. So obviously you cannot travel during that time, which is in the summer. And again, we will get into those details for all of our confirmed participants because there's a lot more to learn with the visa process. We'll have a whole webinar just on that.
All right, so here you can see a more detailed breakdown of which consulate you would be using based on US state of residence. Unfortunately, we don't have Canada or Australia, New Zealand on here, but most of our participants are from the USA. So here you can find your state of residence, and next to it, you'll see the consulate of jurisdiction that you will have to go to. Everything is subject to change with these consulates. Most of them require you make an appointment in advance. Some of them do not. That's going to be Washington, D.C., Miami, and Houston. But generally, and this can be confusing because of people graduating from university or recently moving or whatever, moving to back home after you graduate. So if you have any questions about exact where you should go, please ask us. You're going to need a state identification for whatever state you're resident of to show the consulate along with your passport. So take a look here and just start to think about it. So iNext is our insurance that we include for everyone as part of your program fee. It's an in-house policy. So we have a team here that is able to troubleshoot and help with questions, but we also are able to help. Everyone's enrolled in iNext unless you tell us otherwise you don't want to be enrolled. It's an automatic part of us jumping on board to the program and confirming your commitment to joining us in Spain. So it covers certain things. It doesn't cover everything. What is covered is medical expenses from unforeseen and unexpected illnesses and accidents. You break a leg, goodness forbid, you have a cold, you have strep throat, stuff like that. You need to be hospitalized for whatever reason. It doesn't cover routine physicals, preventative medicine, prescription medications that are for pre-existing or chronic conditions, and non-emergency dental and vision care. So we always try to work with people if they're dealing with something pre-existing or chronic that won't be covered with iNext to get a plan in place before you travel. It's always best to talk to a medical professional, since neither Hillary or myself are medical professionals, not yet at least. But the iNext policy is valid for a calendar year. Actually, technically, I believe it's 364 days. And so as soon as you leave your home country, the policy takes effect, and it's valid anywhere outside the US, Canada. So anywhere in the world that you happen to be, even if you're not in Spain, it will be covering you until well after your program is over, which is pretty cool. And it includes 24-hour travel assistance, and will help you out if you have, let's say, for example, a backpack or phone that's stolen from you. Even sometimes if you have a trip delay that you have no control over, iNext would reimburse you for those types of expenses. But yeah, we try to work with everyone and make this very clear before traveling, because we don't want anybody to go without any medication or treatment that they might need for something that they've been dealing with for a while they're in Spain. All right, and so this is just optional. It's not required for Teach in Spain. It's one of few of our CIEE Teach Abroad programs that does not require the TEFL certification. So that's teaching English as a foreign language. It's an optional add-on to Teach in Spain, since you're working as a language assistant and you're not leading a class on your own. You can add this at any time through CIEE. We have a few different tiers, I like to say, of specialization or the full certification. But the 150-hour course is what I like to call the flagship course. It's 130 hours of coursework online over the course of 11 weeks. Start anytime. We have courses starting every 2 weeks. But once you do start, you have to stick to a weekly schedule of readings and quizzes and stuff like that. We just revamped it, so it's better than it's ever been. It never expires, and you can use it anywhere in the world, which is pretty cool. But we have a little TEFL team here in the office, and our TEFL coordinator, her name is Elizabeth Brewington. She'd love to talk to you about TEFL or maybe add it to your application if it's something you're interested in. Again, you can use it anywhere. So in Spain, it will come in handy. It can only help you. But if you wanted to use it back home, you could get involved in your TESOL community and help people who are trying to learn English. So let us know, or we can connect you with Elizabeth if you would like to hear more about TEFL.
I wanted to add too that in addition to the 130 hours of online coursework, you'll have to complete 20 practicum hours. So
yes.
there will be
How can I forget?
there will be 10 observational hours and 10 teaching hours, and this is something the TEFL team can talk to you about in more detail. But one great thing about adding a TEFL certification to a TEACH program, in this case for Spain, is that you can use some of your teaching hours that you're going to be doing anyway to count towards the TEFL practicum. So again, this is something you can talk to our TEFL coordinator about, Elizabeth. She'll be happy to chat with you, and she can also talk to you about future career opportunities using a TEFL certification. Like Miranda said, you can use it virtually anywhere in the world. It's recognized worldwide, and it never expires once you're certified, so it's also a great resume booster.
Yes, so connecting with other participants, it's something we receive a lot of questions about. The first thing we'll do as soon as we have a confirmed roster of all of the people that are going to be joining us for academic year 2020-2021 or any given year, whatever year it is, we open a Facebook group for all participants. So it's a great place to share where your placement schools are, meet potential roommates, connect through the visa process, which can be
Moral
a process.
Yes.
We also have a pre-departure course on a platform called Canvas that includes a lot of great information to prepare you for the experience, and that's all interactive, so you can talk to each other on there as well. And then of course orientation is the big one. Everybody gets to meet each other during orientation. You'll be assigned to a group of about 10 to 12 other CIEE auxiliares and an orientation leader, and CIEE will lead everyone through those workshops and activities, but it's a great place to meet everyone and get to know each other and buddy up to go and search for housing together.
I just want to add too that the Facebook group will be for all programs, so immersion, regular, and basics. So don't worry about, maybe not being or not having access to contact everyone. But of course, your orientations will vary, and immersion orientation will be separate from regular, which would be separate from basics. But you can interact with everyone on the academic year programs through the Facebook group, so it's a really great resource. And we'll also send more resources to bigger Facebook groups for all language assistance within Madrid from other programs too. So I highly recommend joining any Facebook group, including ours. This is how I found my roommate when I did the program. Again, we were both placed in the same area, so that's how we connected. So it was great. And you can, like Miranda said, share other things throughout the year too.
So renewing is something we hear about even before people have set foot in Madrid. So renewing, if things go well with your school and you want to stay on for another academic year, you can renew your placement. It has to be a mutual agreement between yourself and the school. And our staff in Madrid, so our colleagues there in the Madrid office, will help everyone with renewing their residency card. They're there to troubleshoot if you have any questions or you're struggling. They can help you, but it does have to be with the same school school as originally, so you can't change. You can't say, I don't like this school. Can I just get a different school? It doesn't work like that. And these are Comunidad de Madrid rules. They're not CIEE rules. They have many of them, and some of them are confusing, but this is just the way it is. So if things go well with your school, you can renew, and we'll help you with that paperwork. And you can stay in the same community, so the same region, for up to 3 years. You technically, according to the book, the rules, you cannot renew for more than 3 years. We've heard of people doing it. We don't understand how they find those loopholes, but generally the rule is that you can only stay in the same community for 3 years. And if you want to continue being a language and culture assistant, you have to go to a different comunidad, or a different region. So applying, if you haven't started an application already, the deadline is coming up in a month from tomorrow. Tomorrow is February 1st, so the deadline's March 1st. And to apply, if you haven't already started yours, you can use these links here, https://www.ciee.org/user, or you can search for Teach in Spain CIEE and click the big orange Apply Now button. And if you have any trouble uploading anything or using the tasks on your MyCIEE account application, you can send us an email to teachinspain@ciee.org. And to all of those, if there are any about to be graduates with their bachelor's degree here, you can still apply. You just have to have your diploma by the time you travel. So for now, you can upload either a short statement from your registrar's office at your university stating the degree expected date, or you can include a full transcript up till now with the degree expected date on there. So let us know if you have any questions about that, and we'll be happy to help.
One thing I wanted to add about passports, if you have a passport that has expired or is going to expire soon, or you've never had a passport before, you can still complete the application so that it moves forward. If you have an expired passport, please start the process of reapplying, and then you can upload a receipt that you receive on your application so that it moves forward, and put in your old passport number for now. And then once you get a new one, you can email us a copy at teachinspain@ciee.org. And again, just reach out if you have any specific questions, but you can still complete your application if you don't have a passport yet, or if you're in the process of renewing one.
So on the topic of saving money, and as we mentioned before, if you don't have a passport yet, that's going to cost you $110 to $145 generally, including the little photos you have to get and sending it in. Visa application paid to the Consulate of Spain in whatever state, whatever city, $160, and then usually the necessary visa documents, your FBI federal level background check, your medical certificate with apostille from the state of where it's issued, usually anywhere from $75 to $150 if you need a translation, and travel to your designated consulate depends. It could be just walking down the street if you live nearby, or driving, or it could be that you have to take a flight. So unfortunately, that is up to the responsibility of the participant to foot those expenses. And we do recommend having a savings of a couple $1,000s for initial expenses during your first couple months. It is an endeavor to move, even if it's the same country or the same state. There's always a cost incurred there. So we just want to set that expectation and not have it be a surprise that you will need some money to start out.
And for all language assistants as well, you start teaching in October, but you will not start getting paid by your school until the beginning of November. So you should take into account how much money you'll need from the time you arrive for orientation until the beginning of November. And that includes a safety deposit for your apartment, the first month's rent, groceries, little things like that. So just something to be aware of as you're thinking about doing the program. And of course, we're happy to help if you have questions.
So again, Teach in Spain, all one word, at CIEE.org is going to be the fastest way to send us a question, unless it's something super urgent. You need to talk to someone right away during business hours. We're here from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You lose me? Can everybody still hear me? Oh no, I got kicked off. Not kicked off. My internet's not good.
Uh-oh. If you guys can still hear us, please, please write yes in the comment. Okay. If you can still hear me, we'll now have a question and answer session. Again, you can always email us and one of us will answer you, or you can call the office, but emailing us is the fastest way. So let's look through some of our, okay, Miranda's back, the internet's back. So let's start with our questions, and if you have anything that you want answered now, please type it in the box. So let's see. So someone's asking, I saw in the application we have a chance to say where we would like to be placed. Are we supposed to put specific areas or more general in terms of neighborhood, rural, capital? So this is a great question. You can put specific areas, and again, within the region of Madrid. Most people just write Madrid Central, or they write a neighborhood that's within the capital. If the capital is your first choice, just put Madrid Central or Madrid Capital. But I would recommend putting at least 2 to 3 different suburbs on there, so that if you don't get the capital for your placement school, you can get one of the surrounding areas. And a lot of the surrounding suburban areas are still connected within the metro system. So that's something to bear in mind. And we also have a Community of Madrid guide that kind of outlines more of the areas. So that's a great resource to use as well, to get an idea of where the placements might be.
And yeah, and that will be shared if you decide to go ahead and move forward with us. We'll send everyone the guide to Comunidad de Madrid so you can look at it. And so the next question we had was, how many weeks are between orientation and the beginning of the school year for Teach in Spain? Just a couple, because most people are arriving either really late in August or early September, so it would be like 3 to 4. As soon as we have the dates finalized, we can speak to that in a bit more detail, but generally it's 3 to 4 weeks or so for the regular Teach in Spain program. And I have a question about housing. How many people usually live in an apartment together? It depends on the area, how big the apartment is, how much you're trying to spend. But usually I'd say, from what I've heard and seen with CIEE participants, it's anywhere from like 3 to 6. It can be less, it can be more, but generally several people sharing an apartment there.
And some people ask too about studio apartments and living on your own. Some people are able to make this work financially, but most of our participants are recent college graduates, and so having roommates cuts down a lot of costs. So again, the housing is totally up to you, so whatever you're more comfortable with, then what you can figure out is where you'll live.
We have one that's a bit of a repeat, the Comunidad de Madrid guide. We have resource for you, anonymous attendee. I'm not sure who you are. If you want us to share the Comunidad de Madrid guide with you now, we can totally do that, but we will need to know who you are before we can send it to you.
Yeah, so
just send us an email.
An email, yep.
Yeah.
The recommendation letter, do we upload the letter if we have them, or is it an email link? So you'll see in the application that you can put an email for a recommender, such as a professor at a university or something. You can do it that way, or you can tell your recommender to email us at Teach in Spain at CIEE with the letter, and we'll upload it for you. If you have the letter, go ahead and upload it. That's great. We don't have very specific guidelines regarding your letter of recommendation. We just want to learn more about you and your work ethic and why you'd be a great addition to the program.
We got a question about do we recommend to bring any play electronics, like a PlayStation? Um, I wouldn't recommend doing that, but if you want to, you can. It's going to take up a lot of space in your luggage, and there's overweight luggage restrictions. So I would find yourself a Spanish friend who loves to play FIFA, and I would borrow their game system. I would not bring one, but that's just me, and you can do that if you would like to, but it's going to probably be a pain in the butt. Sorry, not the most professional answer, but that question made me laugh. I like that question. Thank you for asking it. Travel restrictions during the summer. I don't know if Cassie can elaborate on what she means by that, but if you mean between your visa application and your departure to Spain, it's going to depend on the program that you choose when your visa application window is going to be. And this will touch on a few other questions that we've had. Your documents are time sensitive, and they won't let you apply for your visa more than like 90 days before your program start date. So that's about 3 months. You can't have any documents older than that either. So unfortunately, for the person who has the background check now that she just got, or he or they, you won't be able to use that for your visa because you could have, it'll be too old by the time your visa appointment comes around, and you could have done all kinds of things in those couple months. So you have to get another one, unfortunately. But the New York City consulate is the only consulate that allows you to retain your passport during your visa processing time. So if you have international travel planned, please send us an email to teachinspain@ciee.org. Let us know the specifics, and we can advise and let you know, depending on your program, what the time frame is going to look like for application, and what to do if you have questions about that.
The next one, how many applicants applied last year and how many did you accept? So Spain, again, is one of the biggest programs that we have within the Teach department. We sent about 650 participants last year to Spain with all the programs blended
After
together.
Reviewing thousands, hundreds of applications, probably over 1,000. I can't remember what we said.
I have
no idea. We looked at this the other day, and it was over 1,000 applications, but only about 700.
So we do have a lot of space. It is good to apply early, again, because you have a better chance of getting your first choice preference of age group and location within the region of Madrid. We review applications on a rolling basis, which goes into our next question: how quickly can you submit an application and hear back? We are reviewing applications every week. So as soon as your application is complete with all the documents and you've submitted everything, you'll see on your application that it goes into review status. So that means that it's in our system, we are ready to read it, and we will review all of them once a week and then send out emails to everyone that we think would be a great addition to the program, and it will have the next steps outlined in that email. So yeah, 1 to 2 weeks, but we are in full throttle application season. So anyway, you can expect to hear back from us relatively quickly, and then you can apply to the commit to the program sooner, which is better in the long run as far as placements go.
We got, is it bad if I didn't specify a specific location? It's not bad. If there's somewhere you want to be, please let us know. We don't guarantee anything when it comes to placement location. If you're open-minded, that's great. If you're open to any placement, that's kind of the ideal
awesome.
attitude to have. Being open-minded and knowing that this is about helping these children and teenagers in these schools that need help. It's not bad if you didn't specify a location, but
if you do want to specify a location after you've reviewed the guide, if you want us to send you the guide, we can reopen that task in your application so that you can put some different preferences down, or we can input them for you. You can always give us a call too, so that's no problem. After the 2 hotel nights with no additional nights for basics, what's the best thing to do living-wise before you find housing, hostel stays? This is a great question. So for all of our programs, for immersion, regular, basics, for immersion people after their time with the host families, after you are, finished with CIEE and on your own, most of our participants will book an Airbnb or a hostel for 1 to 2 weeks while they're looking for housing. And there are hostels all over Madrid, and they're actually super nice. And there are various Airbnbs, so this is something else you can talk to other participants about if you want to all go in and split one together. That's absolutely an option, but again, it's all up to you after orientation is over, so we do recommend that when you're done. Is private tutoring the only side job teaching assistants take on? Yes.
Babysitting people do too.
Yeah, that's another one too. So anything under the table, so to speak, because you're over in Spain using a student visa, not a work visa. So you can't pick up any other side positions in things like a restaurant.
Where you're on a payroll.
Yeah. So, but as a native English speaker, you're going to be in high demand to help with homework and conversation practice. So in my case, and the other language assistants at my school, we were approached by parents within the first couple of weeks of us being there to help their students with homework and conversation and stuff. And you decide the prices. An average is between 15 and 20 euros an hour, but that is something you can negotiate with the parents or the student. Some people want to help others outside of their school, with university students or even adults. So you can either talk to your bilingual coordinator, wait for parents to come to you. You can look at various, again, Facebook groups to see if there are other opportunities for tutoring, but generally as a native English speaker, you have opportunities everywhere. So that is what you can do on the side, and it can greatly supplement your income depending on how many extra lessons you want to give a week.
Mm-hmm.
I did about 4 extra lessons a week, and that earned me 60 euros a week, which went a long way in Spain, which was super nice.
Keep in mind that your job at your school or schools is going to be 16 hours a week total. So you'll have a lot of time to pursue other interests, and that might include tutoring. Very good way to make a little extra income. And the next question also has to do with the finance part here. Are there any scholarships to help with costs, or do you have any tips on how to cover the costs? Unfortunately, CIEE is not able to offer any scholarships for our program fee, since this is a paid position that you're going to be working in there. And so tips on how to cover the costs. What I did was, when I was trying to, I did a separate trip after I graduated and went to a few different places. I fundraised for myself, and obviously there's lots of platforms now that you can use. GoFundMe is a big one, but I raised about $2,000, and it took me about 3 weeks or 4 weeks to raise that. So if you are able to do something like that, I would highly recommend it. But unfortunately, right now there are no scholarship opportunities available because this is a paid position that you're going there to work. And so here we have, while we are living in Madrid, do we have to pay taxes to the Spanish government? No, you do not. Generally, so since it's a stipend, that the government views this as a paid internship, you're getting paid that flat stipend. They don't tax it, so it just comes to no tax. A lot of people do ask about taxes when they return, so declaring money they made outside of the US, and we're not tax professionals, so we recommend that you talk with a tax professional about that situation when you're back. But no, you do not have to pay taxes to the Spanish government on your stipend.
The next question is, how well does the €1,000 a month support living in Madrid?
A couple people had this question. So.
Yeah, a great question. €1,000 for the amount of work you're doing can go a long way, and it's more than fair for the stipend. A lot of participants do just use the €1,000 a month for their living expenses. It really all boils down to where you end up living, how much rent you're paying. and what extra activities you want to do. So, for example, when I went there, I really wanted to travel as much as I possibly could within the 10 months. So again, the private tutoring really helped because that covered my monthly phone bill, my monthly transportation card, groceries, little things like that. And then, $375 went towards my rent, and then 15 extra euros for utilities. So that left the rest of it to be used for traveling in my case.
The way that we see people traveling
Yes.
while on program leads us to believe that they're doing pretty good, all right.
And there are tons of budget airlines within Europe and Spain. You can go to Germany for 80 euros round trip or something. It all depends on which airline you're using. And you can go to a lot of different places within Spain on the train or the bus. Portugal's right next door. You can get there in a matter of hours. So there are definitely a ton of travel opportunities within Europe because it is pretty condensed when you compare it to the size of the US. So yeah, you can just get by using your 1,000 euros a month stipend. But if you want to do more, we do recommend private tutoring. And of course, initially using your finances from the States. But in general, in my case, and with a lot of other people, once they started getting paid by the schools, they'd never had to use their US accounts for the rest of the year. And again, it all depends on where you're living, how much traveling you want to do, how much you want to go out in Madrid, and things like that. So short answer, yes, it's enough, but you will be living month to month. This definitely isn't a program to save up a ton of money to bring back home. I didn't bring any back. I used it all, but this is, for the experience of living and teaching in Spain.
Next question is, will the program get filled up before the deadline? No, it will not. And is there a roommate matching process? I like a questionnaire to find a good match. Unfortunately, we do not have anything like that. I'm not sure how feasible it would be for us to create something like that, but it's a good question, and I suggest if you apply, accept, you want to move forward, just putting yourself out there from the get-go on the Facebook group, or if you'd like us to put you in contact with a current participant or someone who's done the program to see how they did it, we can do that.
Yeah, and when I was a participant, somebody made a Google Doc with various questions, and you could go into that Google Doc and fill it out yourself. And that's how I found my roommate. She had a lot of the same schedule preferences that I did, as far as going to bed late and waking up late and cleanliness and things like that. So once that Facebook group is open, that is for you guys. You can
finding like-minded people on the Facebook group is so easy. I can't tell you how many posts we've saw before this last departure we had. I'm 27, I don't like to party, I'm clean, this is what I like to do, this is what I'm looking for in a roommate, and people get connected very quickly. But there's, if you want to get creative too, let me know your suggestions. And then this one was from the same person, I think. Do you think even if you're not practicing Spanish in the classroom, this experience would help reinforce Spanish speaking skills? And I have to say, it depends on who you are and what your priorities are, because people who live in the city have complained to me personally that it's too easy for them to speak English. And I totally understand. When I was in Salamanca, I avoided English speakers like the plague. I didn't spend time with other Americans or other English speakers. I just didn't. I made the effort to only hang out with Spanish speakers and not spend my time going around with other English speakers because I wanted to learn Spanish. So if you want to become fluent, you can do it, but you have to try, and it's not going to present itself to you as a little pretty bow in a nice package. You have to really, really try. And that would be the case even if you weren't in a super international city like Madrid. You have to seek out those experiences and try not to speak English if that's what you're trying to do while you're there. It's not everybody's goal, but it's a good goal to have. It was mine, and I've used my Spanish in every job I've had since I graduated and since I got back from Spain. So you have to really put the effort in there. But yes, I do think that this experience would help reinforce Spanish speaking skills, but you have to go for it.
And to add on to that, not all the teachers in your placement school will speak English. So for me, during the breaks, I would practice my Spanish with the other teachers, which allowed me to, interact with more people in the school. So that's how I practiced. I also worked with younger kids in a primary school. So because of my Spanish level, I was able to understand my students babbling with each other. And, it helped me be able to help them better because I could understand them. And you can also always take extra language courses outside of your school that's not associated with CIEE. There are language academies all over the city. So you can take extra classes. One of my friends did this. And there are also intercambio groups, which are language exchange groups. There are big ones where, one half of the room is speaking Spanish and one is speaking English, and then you swap, and that's really fun. You can also sign up on various websites to become an individual intercambio.
That's what I did a lot.
And that's a great way to also practice your Spanish. And some people look for Spanish roommates. So that's a great way.
That was another question we had in there. It's totally up to you. I would recommend living with Spanish people if you can find a room in an apartment with Spaniards. I would not live with anyone English speaking. If I were to do it all over again, I didn't do it then and I wouldn't do it now. If you want to learn Spanish, definitely try to live with some Spanish people. There's a few questions in here that are all kind of related. So I'm going to jump into the TEFL questions now. And then there's some phone questions.
We're also almost out of time, so we have time for this one last TEFL question. But if you have any additional questions, again, please reach out at teachinspain@ciee.org and we'll get in touch with you. But we only have one more, or time for one more question. So we'll do TEFL and then we'll say our goodbyes.
So a couple of them mushed into one. So I didn't do the TEFL class. I was a Spanish major with a translation, or I was a Spanish and translation double major in Latin American studies. I didn't do the TEFL. Hillary, did you do the TEFL certification?
I did not, because I applied late and didn't know about it.
So the TEFL certification, on a related note, the value is about $1,000. That's what it is. That's the program. That's the TEFL program fee for CIEE.
It's a pretty standard price too for
the 150 hour.
Yes.
And you don't have to start it at any certain time. You can start it either before you leave or after. It's totally up to you when you start. You can start it before or after. And then the international phone plan questions, there's going to be a phone provider at orientation. We'll go over that at orientation.
And our pre-departure course as well.
And our pre-departure course.
It's very easy to just have your phone unlocked, arrive in Spain, buy a SIM card, and plug it in. So we'll get into all those details much later when it's closer to departure. But for now, thank you to everyone who came to the webinar today. This will be recorded and we'll upload it to our YouTube channel. We'll send it out in an email again once that's ready. But yeah, we look forward to working with you guys and we want you to feel as prepared as possible. So please reach out to us. We're happy to chat with you guys or email. We're here to help. That's our job. So we hope you have a great weekend and we'll chat soon.
Thanks, everyone.